NBA Finals bets galore. Look at this on the DK Sportsbook. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Game 1 between the Celtics and Warriors. It gets going tomorrow. So right now, we're actually going to break down the Finals markets with my dude, DraftKings contributor, Jeff Pratt. So let's start here, dude. What's a series special that stands out to you? So just for example, looking at it here, there's Tatum, Brown, and Curry to each average 25-plus points at plus 250.
Yeah, the obvious two that jump out to me are Curry to average 25 plus and the Warriors to win, and then Tatum to average 25 plus and the Celtics to win. Because at this point, it's just a pick 'em. I think realistically, both of these guys are going to average 25 plus in this series, and it will just come down to who wins. I like the Celtics, and I think you're getting better odds there, but both are worth taking, in my opinion. And then another one that I think might be worth taking on a long shot is any player to score 50 plus points in a finals game. It's at plus 1100 right now, I believe. You've got at least two players who can definitely go for 50 on any given night. Tatum did it twice this year. Curry did it once. Jaylen Brown got a 50 burger this year. It's certainly doable.
Yeah, you know what else is plus 1100 right there on your screen? Draymond to average 10 or more points and over 7 rebounds and 7 assists. Yeah, Jeff?
I don't know. I actually think Draymond might have a hard time with the type of defensive players that the Celtics are going to throw at him. I think that containing him is a key for Boston in this series. They've got two guys who are capable of doing it. You know, Al Horford, look at the guys who he's defended throughout this postseason run. Kevin Durant at times. He stopped Giannis to an extent. No one stops Giannis, but he contained him. Bam Adebayo made him look like he wasn't even there for half of this series. So Draymond Green, different type of player because he's not looking to score. He's looking to get other guys more involved. But I think if they just make him uncomfortable, he might not be as much of a factor in this series as the Warriors would hope.
Yeah, and Jeff, you know this more than anybody. Like the Celtics have had some ups and downs this postseason, like huge comeback wins, couple blown leads. And yeah, there's a market for that. I mean, will there be a comeback win of 20 or more points in the finals? It's plus 600 right now. So like, I don't know, Jeff, maybe Boston's inexperienced. We'll put them in that like early hole, one they could possibly climb out of.
20 points is nothing in the NBA.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nothing. This could 100% happen either way. I think, you know, as a Celtics fan, we've seen so far throughout the year, even though they were dominant in the second half of the season, they were still prone to going 4 or 5 minute stretches where they just couldn't put the ball in the basket. We saw it at the end of Game 7. They almost lost to the Heat because they just could not score. And Marcus Smart decided to jack up 4 threes in the last 3 minutes of the game. They're not great at making decisions down the stretch. And while they are great at starting strong and building big leads, they often allow teams to climb back in them in relatively short stretches. And then the Warriors, again, this is an elite defensive team, but the Celtics are just as good defensively, if not better. They're capable of shutting them down for 5+ minute stretches at a time. And we know Boston's offense is also capable of going off during those periods. So either way, 20 plus points, it's nothing for both of these squads. That could absolutely happen.
And looking at more of these final props here, Jeff, like who's going to have the highest single game scoring performance of the series? Like Tatum is plus 165, Curry plus 175, top of the board. I know you've mentioned already a couple of these dudes who are capable of putting up a 50 burger.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to one of them. I like the value on Jaylen Brown here at plus 500. It feels like he's due for at least one huge game in this series, especially if he gets off to a strong start. Jaylen was among the league leaders in first quarter scoring this season, so all he needs is like a 15-ish point first quarter, and it could propel him to a huge night. And then call me crazy, but I think it might be worth taking a flyer on Marcus Smart.
What?
At plus 4,000 in this prop. I know. We're talking about a guy who probably has the most confidence in himself out of anyone else in this series. And we've got players with championship pedigree on the other side. The Warriors have been to the finals. They've been there, done that. We're talking about Steph Curry, the greatest three-point shooter in NBA history. And I think Marcus Smart might have more confidence in himself than Curry. Irrational or not, his confidence is through the roof, and that leads to a lot of shots. All he needs is to get hot one night. He could go for 35 or 40. We saw it a couple of years ago in the bubble against the Heat and the Raptors, where Smart would just take over quarters at times. It was really weird, but we know he's capable of doing it. Again, I keep going back to looking at guys who are capable of doing this. And as weird as it sounds, Marcus Smart at plus 4,000, I think there's some value there.
I could definitely see him taking 35, 40, 50 shots in a game, like
Sure.
like 100%. And I know yesterday, dude, like we talked a little bit about like who will be the series leading scorer, but how about like a series leader in rebounds, assists, or threes made? Like what's a bet you like there?
Yeah, Jason Tatum only has the 5th best odds to lead this series in rebounds, and he's been doing work on the glass all season long. He averaged a career high 8 boards per game entering the playoffs. In his last 4 games, he's at 8, 12, 9, and 10. I look at guys who have higher odds than Tatum on this list. Al Horford makes sense. I believe he's the favorite right now, but he averaged less rebounds than Tatum did this year. I'm not sure Kevon Looney is going to be able to play as much as people think in this series. When we look at Looney, he's been absolutely racking up the rebounds in these last couple of series. But Boston's capable of going small, and a guy like Robert Williams is a horrible matchup for Looney. He will just jump all over him. Speaking of Rob, who knows how much of an impact he'll have on the boards with a sore knee. We saw that he was present in the Miami series, but he wasn't really present. He didn't make his presence felt on the boards, at least. He had a couple of games where I think he had 2-3 rebounds, one of them where he didn't have any rebounds at all, I believe. And then finally, Draymond Green, we know what he's capable of, but again, he's shorter, and this is another guy who averaged less boards per game than Jason Tatum this year. So I think at plus 950, again, just like Marcus Smart is great value at plus 4,000 to have the highest scoring performance here, I think Jason Tatum is even better value at plus 950 to lead the series in rebounds.
All right, let's get even more weird here. You can bet on the distance of the longest shot made in the finals. How many 35-plus foot shots will fall, and who's going to be hitting these shots from long distance? Jeff, this screams Steph Curry, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Curry could have 5+ of these just by himself. I have no idea how many 35-plus footers are going to go down in this series. I know there's going to be quite a few taken, and there are quite a few players who can hit them in this series. The first is obviously Curry, but then there's also Jordan Poole and Jaylen Brown, who really like to test the limits of their range when there's a lot of momentum going in their way. These guys are prone to heat checks. Jason Tatum has been known to pull from deep at times. Marcus Smart, who knows? Like, these are guys with a lot of confidence in their jump shot, and I think that we could see at least 5+ 35-footers go down here. Maybe Curry hits all of them. Maybe we get 10, 15. I have no idea what to expect for this prop, to be honest with you, Emerson.
What about what to expect in DFS? There is a fat milli maker available for tomorrow night's game 1 on DraftKings. Like, who do you think is going to be the best DFS play in this series? Or you could just focus on like tomorrow night as well.
Sure. It's going to be tough because there are so many different potential matchups in these series. Both of these teams are capable of throwing a bunch of different lineups out there. Who knows? Do the Warriors roll with Looney a lot, or do they go small for the majority of the series? Do the Celtics roll out Al Horford and Robert Williams to start, or do they go small with Grant Williams at the 4? Does Derek White start at the 2? Again, there's a ton of different combinations to run with in this series. A guy who I like, who performed really well against the Miami Heat, is Derek White. And I think this is a much better matchup for him. The Heat, when he was on the floor, they like to take advantage of him. They like to switch him on to Jimmy Butler, and he was just taking him to town. Jimmy Butler's got, 30+ pounds on him. He's bigger. He's much more experienced. He can get to his spot. But Derek White is going to see quite a few minutes on Steph Curry and Jordan Poole in this series. And those are guys that not only is he capable of guarding, but he is capable of shutting down. He's bigger than them. Yeah. He's longer than them. And on the offensive side of the ball, it feels like he's found his shot. He hit a couple of big threes in Game 7. He hit a couple of big threes in Game 6 that almost propelled the Celtics to the NBA Finals back in Boston. I think Poole is a great value. Not Poole. Sorry, Derek White is a great value throughout this entire series. Yeah,
$5,400 for tomorrow night. Definitely that guy that can get you that 15 to 20 point performance with potential to maybe 25, 30 there at a low cost. I think you're onto something there. Anyone you expect to be a DFS disappointment here, especially with the Celtics defense? You think they can kind of take away one of their best players?
I'm not sure if they're going to take away one of their best players. I kind of expect Andrew Wiggins to not be a statistical monster in this series. And that's because he's going to have his hands full with Jason Tatum on a nightly basis. And we look at Andrew Wiggins. When he was in Minnesota, we all knew he was the first option, just wasn't getting it done, extremely inefficient. He comes to Golden State and he seems to have finally found his role because he can hit this open shots, but defensively is where he has made the most progress in his career. He's become one of their best perimeter defenders. Also, he's huge, so he can bang down low. He's going to see Jason Tatum a lot in this series. Most of his effort, I feel like, is going to be done on the defensive end. And then offensively, it feels like he might just be a bit of an afterthought with how many other scoring weapons. We know that Wiggins has been good throughout the postseason, but I feel like this might not be his series, you know?